Geometry. Examples of the Pythagorean Theorem. Using the Pythagorean Theorem, find the value of x. Well, we can do that, but we can also say that we remember first semester where we noted that 5, 12, 13 was one of the useful Pythagorean triples. 1, 1, the square root of 2 is an example that we just practiced. And x equals 6 because we remember that another Pythagorean triple is 3, 4, 5. These are really useful ratios. 5, 12, 13, and 3, 4, 5. Word problems. Find the hypotenuse of a right triangle that has one side of 5 inches and another side of 2 inches. Right triangle. We're looking for this number. We have one side of 2 inches, we have another side of 5 inches. That's going to give us 2 squared plus 5 squared. It's the hypotenuse squared. 29 is the hypotenuse squared. The square root of 29 is the hypotenuse. And I think 29 may be a prime number. Can you factor 29 besides itself and 1? What are the factors? I think it's prime. Is 29 prime? Has exactly 2 factors. Prime is any number that has exactly 2 factors, itself and 1. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19,
21.
23.
Oh, 27.
I think 27 is prime. I think 29 is prime.
No, wait.
We digress. A square measures 6 yards on one side. How long is the diagonal? We have a square. Every side is 6 yards. How long is the diagonal? What do we have? We have an isosceles right triangle. So the diagonal is the hypotenuse of the isosceles right triangle. So the diagonal is equal to 6 times the square root of 2. Let's move on. A pole is 10 feet high. A wire is attached to the top of the pole. A pole is 10 feet high. A wire is attached to the top of the pole and fastened to an anchor in the ground 5 feet from the bottom. How long is the wire? Well, let's see. 10 squared plus 5 squared is equal to the hypotenuse squared. 125 is the hypotenuse squared. The square root of 125 is going to be the length of the hypotenuse. Square root of 125. 125 divided by 5 is 25. 5 times 25 gives me 125, right? 25 is 5 times 5. So the hypotenuse is equal to the square root of 25 times 5, and that is the same as 5 times the square root of 5. A plane flies over a control tower at a height of 8 kilometers. An observer on the ground is 15 kilometers from the control tower. How far is the plane from the observer? 8 squared plus 15 squared equals that distance squared. 64 plus 225 is the distance squared. 9, 8, 289 is the distance squared. So let's see. Thank you. The square root of 289 is the distance, which it turns out, I am reliably informed, is 17. What are my units? Kilometers. And one more. Mindy and Christine started from the same point. Christine traveled west at a rate of 30 miles an hour. Mindy traveled south at a rate of 40 miles an hour. How far apart were they at the end of 1 hour? They were 50 miles apart. How do I know that? Because this is a 3-4 right triangle, so the hypotenuse has to be 5. It's very convenient to know those ratios. But let's pretend we forgot for a minute because we were nervous. Well, what can we do? 30 squared plus 40 squared equals distance squared. 900 plus 1600 is the distance squared. 2,500 is the distance squared. And there we are.